The Prime Minister has defended England's new coronavirus restrictions that begin when lockdown ends next Wednesday. Many Conservative MPs reacted angrily when it was revealed that almost the entire country would be placed into the two highest tiers, with many areas that have low infection rates facing tougher controls than before. They're calling for a more locally targeted approach. Boris Johnson said he realised it was frustrating, but insisted that the restrictions were necessary to curb the disease. Our deputy political editor, Vicki Young, has spent the day in Kent, which is going into the toughest tier.
It's not the festive reopening they'd been hoping for, and once again this bar will have to adapt. Customers won't be allowed to sit in and enjoy the craft beer, so owner Alex is setting up as a shop.
Most businesses were getting prepared to get back open in some way, shape or form, so to kind of have the rug pulled from under them at the last minute it's quite a shock, and it's upsetting, I guess, really, to be in this situation, especially when we tried so hard as an industry to be COVID secure and we've put in so many measures.
In Tunbridge there are few coronavirus cases, but high numbers in a couple of areas of Kent have pushed the whole county into the toughest restrictions.
And it's like when you're at school and you behave the whole lesson and then there's just one kid at the back that hasn't behaved.
Actually, that we were quite shocked that we were expecting to be in tier 3, and quite as new mums struggling, being alone, stuck in the house a lot.
The government's got to put a line somewhere. I mean, you put a line through the middle of Kent. Nobody's going to know where it is, are they?
The Prime Minister hopes that eventually vaccines and mass testing will help control the virus. Today he toured Public Health England labs at Porton Down. But for now, the tier system will dictate what rules we must live with.
Totally understand why people feel so frustrated, but the difficulty is that if you did it any other way, first of all, you'd divide the country up into loads and loads of very complicated subdivisions. There's got to be some simplicity and some clarity in the way that we do this.
But furious Conservative MPs have been lobbying for a more targeted approach.
Look, of course he's right that we need simplicity and clarity, but we also need it to be appropriate. We're asking people to make very serious sacrifices, personal sacrifices, economic sacrifices, and that's why it's important that what we ask people to do is entirely appropriate to the situation they find themselves in.
Labour's not against the tighter restrictions, which MPs will vote on next week, but it wants more financial support for those who have to isolate. Boris Johnson might have to rely on opposition MPs to get his plans through. There have been howls of protest from many Conservative MPs who are particularly worried about the hospitality trade. But the government is taking a tougher approach this time round after scientists said that the tier system simply wasn't working. Now, MPs in places like Kent are pinning all their hopes on a review in 2 weeks' time. Shops, those that have survived, will reopen across the whole of England next week. But many pubs and restaurants face an uncertain future. Vicki Young, BBC News, Tunbridge.